Okay, I'm going to walk you through the getting started guide for Vulkan on Android for developers that are using a Windows host. And this is, first of all, there's some requirements you got to have on your Windows box. You need to get a recent Windows, I believe Windows 7 through Windows 10 should work. I'm going to be doing it on Windows 10. I really haven't used the Windows 7 or Windows 8 recently. Um, and you need to have an Android device. I'd recommend one of the Nexus or Google Pixel devices. And you need uh, both CMake and Python versions 3.0 or later. I think I've got 3.6 on CMake and 3.5 on Python. The CMake, I would also recommend that you not rely on the CMake that's integrated in Cygnus, and instead go with the version that it's out of CMake.org. And let's see. Next, you need to go out and get the most recent version of Android Studio, and we can just click on the download here and just pick up this Windows 2.3.1. Okay, I've downloaded that. Now I'm going to launch the installer. This is what pops up for your Android Studio setup. And let's see, we'll just go next. What we want to do, so I'm installing it on a clean system here. I uninstalled my previous version. So if this is your first time, this is the screen you'll see. Otherwise, it'll actually bring up Android Studio and let you work from there. So let's so we want to get the SDK and virtual device. So let's hit next. I agree. I just use the default locations and go ahead and install. And we'll wait for that to finish. Okay, that's completed. And we'll click next. We're going to go ahead and start Android Studio so that we can run the SDK manager and finish installing here. Okay. Just go to the tools and then go down to Android and down to the SDK manager. So by default, you get the current Android 7.1.1, the most recent nougat release, and we'll just stick with that for now. If you want to support multiple versions of Android, you'll need to pick up more. But Android Studio installs slowly, so we'll skip that. But we do need CMake support in Android. We want to use the debugger, that's LLDB. And let's see what else are we going to get. It's useful to have the USB driver. We definitely need the NDK. And I think we're good here. All right, so then click OK. And we're going to install those components. And we accept that. Okay, the SDK manager is finished installing the components. We're just going to click finish. And we are now ready to proceed. Let's go back to our getting started guide. So we finished that step there. We've launched the Android Studio. and we are now ready to import the Vulkan samples programs. This is also pretty simple. Let's see. What we need to do is just do a new and import sample and file new import sample, and then we go down and select a sample out of the NDK grouping here, and here's the Vulkan API samples. So we're going to import these, and here we go. Once we've, this is a collection of samples that were developed jointly between LunarG and Google, and they're basically showing the usage of the API through samples and doing it in a way that's easy to cut and paste, not relying on a lot of demo or sample infrastructure, but pretty much using the API directly. So it should be easier to cut and paste pieces of the sample themselves because of that. At least that was the intention. And we're going to wait for this to finish building. Alright, looks like I also had to install the missing platforms and sync the project. So now it's getting platform 24. So we'll need to wait for that. Okay, let's turn on. It's good to click on the project on the left and the console at the bottom. Those are a good way to go. And we'll go to, now it called it Vulkan API Samples 2 because I had another version. And I tend to put my projects under my home directory in the source. And so we'll go ahead and build, make the project. Okay, that build's finally successful here. And let's go ahead and pick, go up here to this pull down here and pick draw cube. We'll run this. This is a nice simple example. Okay, we selected draw cube, and if we just now run it, so Android Studio is going to basically show you the devices that are available. I've got a Nexus 6P connected via USB, and it's already been enabled to be able to debug with it and stuff. Okay, this is the Nexus 6P that we're going to be using to run the samples on. Before you can actually run samples from Android Studio, you're going to need to put the phone into developer mode. And the way that you do that is go to settings. On this particular phone, we're going to need to go to system next. Lots of, but previous phones you would find what we're looking for is the About Phone menu, and that is found in System on this phone, and on previous phones you could find it at the highest level of settings. So we go to System, and now at the bottom is About Phone, and then at the bottom of About Phone you can see that it lists the build number there. If you tap on the build number 7 times, that will put you into developer mode. So we'll do that. Okay. So I'm going to enter my PIN. now I'm a developer. And then we'll go back a level. Is that right? Yeah, we go back a level, and then you see developer options now. That menu was not there before. And we can go down here to enable USB debugging. Looks like that's already enabled right there. Say OK, allow it. And now we can get out of this and we can run samples to this phone. Once you've done that, then you should be able to go ahead and continue here. We've selected that device, and now the app will continue and load the APK onto the phone and then run it. And it went ahead and finished another round of build, and then okay, we've launched Draw Cube, and there it is on the screen. So there's to it. So now to select another one of these samples, you go up to this pull down menu here, and we're going to select, let's see, let's go ahead and do Draw Texture Cube. And now we're ready to go up to run, say run Draw Texture Cube. And once again, we're going to be rendering on the 6P. And it basically does a build again of that sample to make sure everything's current. And now we see on my device, you can see that there's a texture cube there. Now we've just launched Draw Cube, and it appears up on the screen of the device. That's what it should look like. And that's about it. So looks like we've got the samples up and running. There's multiple samples here. A lot of these don't render anything very interesting. Once again, their key purpose is to show you how to make the API calls in kind of a fashion that you can easily cut and paste them. But oftentimes they are pretty boring to see what they're rendering. So that's about it for the Vulkan API sample section. The next step, we're going to try and build something more from scratch and make it a little simpler. This is kind of a complicated thing with lots of samples in it. And that's about it. Thanks.